a lot of videos on YouTube get quite a ton of traction by posting pretty useless facts. So it's time that Physifacts took on the mantle of responsibility and gave everyone 10 minutes of informative facts to relax and enjoy, because you'll probably never need to use them ever again. Water can boil not only at 100 degrees Celsius at normal atmospheric pressure, but also at about 0.025 times the atmospheric pressure at room temperature. Apart from that, water can actually boil and freeze at the same time, existing as a solid, liquid, and gas simultaneously in a state called the triple point. Diamonds may be really hard, but they actually evaporate under sunlight. Although this takes a very long time, diamonds are not forever. There are earthquake equivalents on the moon called moonquakes, and they last much longer than earthquakes. You never really have physical contact with anything, as the electrostatic repulsion gives the sensation of touch. However, when you drop your phone, you actually pull the entire Earth up towards the phone, even though it's like less than the width of a single proton. Because tiny objects like electrons exist as probability clouds, the probability that one of the electrons that belong to your body is currently on the moon is not zero. So there's a tiny chance you're already an astronaut. The tallest possible mountain on Earth, based off of the mass of the Earth and the general composition, is about 10 kilometers tall. The Earth actually has less water than certain moons in our solar system like Titan and Europa. As objects get hotter, they emit shorter wavelengths. The Draper point is the theoretical temperature at which most solids begin to glow in the visible spectrum. Triboluminescence is the phenomena by which light is produced by crushing or tearing solids. Due to gravitational time dilation, your feet are actually a very, very tiny bit younger than your head. That is, assuming you stay upright for most of your life and you don't sleep through more than half of it. The fastest way down a slope is by following the brachistochrone curve. Just like how the cube is a 3D square, a tesseract is a 4D cube, and there are a ton of hyper shapes just like this. If we found a mirror 33 million light years away from Earth, we could potentially look at it and find out what the dinosaurs would have looked like. That is, assuming the mirror was facing the Earth and was large and clean enough. Because of all the falling leaves, the Earth actually speeds up a tiny bit during the fall season, implying shorter days. Talking about short days, the moon is the cause for the Earth slowing down. If we never had a moon, the Earth would still have days lasting between only 6 to 12 hours, contrary to our current 24. That means that we would actually have over 1,000 days in a single year. If you thought the number of atoms in the entire observable universe was huge, you'd appreciate the fact that there are more possible permutations of how a game of chess could go than the number of atoms in the entire observable universe. All the planets could actually fit in between the average distance between the Earth and the Moon. LISA is the abbreviation for the Laser Interferometer Space Antenna, which will be a space-based gravitational wave detector with arm length of millions of kilometers. You can experience zero-G right here on Earth by traveling in parabolic paths. You can do this in specialized airplanes, which are called vomit comets, because most people can't hold in their guts when they get on one of these. Nanoparticles of gold are actually reddish or purple in color, and they're actively used in cancer cure research. The costliest space mission till date was the Space Shuttle program from 1981 to 2011. It had a cost greater than $190 billion US, with some estimates saying it's easily above $200 billion. Pluto can have temporary atmospheres when it gets close enough to the Sun. The heat melts the surface and releases certain gases like nitrogen that form this temporary atmosphere. The atmosphere, however, freezes back into the surface when the temperature gets cold enough. That reminds me, Pluto didn't even turn 1 Pluto year old since its discovery in 1930 and the demotion to dwarf planet in 2006. However, Pluto actually has 5 moons, and most people only know its largest one. There is no such thing as empty space. There are always particles popping in and out of existence. These particles are generally virtual particles, but they play a very big role in the evaporation of black holes. The galactic year is the time it takes the solar system to travel around the Milky Way. One galactic year is about 225 to 250 million Earth years. When a meteor is brighter than the brightness of Venus in the evening or morning sky, the meteor is termed a fireball. More than 100 of these fireballs fall on Earth per day, but most of them aren't even noticed. Being invisible would be great, but sadly, you'd also become blind as the photons would pass right through your retinas. Earth is only a 0.72 on the Kardashev scale. This means that we still haven't been able to harness the entire energy available here on Earth. Stars don't twinkle in space because there's no atmosphere to allow for varying refractions. Most of the water and gold here on Earth came from meteorite impacts in the early years of the Earth. Our eyes actually see in 2D. Our brains use various tricks to perceive and estimate depth, which is the third dimension. The universe is probably going to end in one of 4 possible endings. Those are the Big Freeze, the Big Crunch, the Big Rip, or the Big Bounce. The Big Bang Theory was actually proposed by a priest. There are small galaxies that revolve around our own Milky Way galaxy. These galaxies are called satellite galaxies. Metallic glass actually exists. Palladium-based metallic glass classifies as one of the world's strongest materials. Airplane windows are actually oval in shape to help spread pressure equally and prevent them from cracking due to the pressure differences between the pressurized cabins and the low pressure outside at high cruising altitudes. The catenary curve is the shape that wires or bridges form when they're just hanging. Perpetual motion machines do not exist. If you meet anyone claiming to have created one, they're probably delusional. Humans are bioluminescent and they actually glow. But sadly, we glow about 1,000 times too weak to be perceived by our own human eyes. It's actually really hard to fall into the sun. Even if you try, chances are that you'd probably miss the sun and go into an extremely elliptical orbit. It's possible for planets to orbit black holes. They would be called planets. Similarly, moons could actually have moons. Their moons would be called moons. But do remember that these are still very theoretical. They're possible, but they're very unlikely. Just like donut-shaped planets. Yup, donut-shaped planets are possible. We only know the two-way speed of light and haven't actually figured out any method of confirming the speed of light in a single direction only. WIMPs in physics are actually weakly interacting massive particles, and they might actually be dark matter. Earth's orbit is actually really close to being circular. It has an eccentricity of 0.0167. An eccentricity of 0 would have made it a perfect circle. The lemniscate is the real name for the infinity symbol. The kilogram is the only SI unit to have a prefix before the unit. Billions or possibly trillions of neutrinos pass through you each second, but only a handful of them will ever interact with any atoms in your body in your entire lifetime. If you run a lap at speed v, You can't possibly run a second lap to make your average speed twice of V. Lasers can actually be used to cool objects, and they're used to reach the coldest temperatures we've ever reached. Speaking of coldest, you're definitely the coolest amongst your friends for actually watching this far into the video. Seriously, share it around to see if anyone makes it this far. And that is a solid 10 minutes of interesting facts that you'll probably find useless. We genuinely hope you enjoyed this video, and sharing it would definitely help this channel grow. There's so much more coming up, so make sure you subscribe and also watch this video to genuinely get more out of your life. Thanks for watching, stay safe, stay curious, and keep learning.